So again, we're going to start with some butter in our dish. Usually it's about 2 tablespoons for a serving of 4 people. And we're going to use a roux on this dish. Does anybody know what a roux is? Like a baby kangaroo, yeah. Roux is a mixture of butter and flour, and it's used for thickening soups and thickening sauces and things like that. It's an equal part. So here we've got, and I've used most of it already, and this is what it ends up looking like in your pan. It's basically kind of thick and doughy almost. So it's equal parts flour and butter. I have 4 tablespoons of butter and 4 tablespoons of flour in my mixture here. As with asparagus, everybody doesn't like the fibrous ends, so we're going to throw that away. And you can also use that in soup stock as well. Cook it down and put it in your freezer. Save it for a week in your refrigerator if you're not going to use your soup stock right away. Any of your onion skins, peppers, even things like tomatoes and zucchini ends and stuff like that, they all have nutritional value, and when you put it in water and cook it down, you're saving some of the nutrients in the water. So it's very important to not just throw away your veggie scraps. If you're going to compost it and you're not making a stock, that's cool, but you can save it. So we'll heat up our skillet here. This is a bok choy or Joi Choi. Basically, bok choy and Joi Choi are the same thing. A bok choy is a larger version usually. We're going to give this some angle cuts so we have just a little bit of presentation in our food. And these are some carrots from our garden that we grew last year, and we're still pulling fresh carrots. We've got lots of them in the ground still, and even with the snow in a winter like this, we can have fresh carrots all year round. So they weren't on the recipe, but we decided to bring some in just because these are things that anybody could have in their garden at any time. So I'm going to julienne a few carrots also and put it in our curry dish. Never worry about cooking your carrots until they're soft. Boy, you're just creating a bunch of mush. Nothing wrong with some crunchy carrots in your food. So we're not going to saute these very long either. And asparagus and Joi Choi and bok choy never takes very long to cook. So I'm just going to saute my carrots first and get them a little bit warm and penetrated with the heat. In the meantime, I'm going to chop up my other ingredients here. I've got my bok choy, I've got my asparagus, which I haven't done yet, and I'm going to put a little bit of onion in this dish, but not too much. And it's always okay to saute your onions a little bit longer. They only get a little bit sweeter, and they soak up flavor as well and release a lot of their oils into the butter. So, again, I like to use a little bit of salt and pepper in just about everything. The salt really helps to release flavors in the other food, but never too much. We're going to use a little bit of chicken stock in this recipe as well. And I'm going to add that right now.
Can you talk about the...
So I put my asparagus ends in here first, the butt ends and not the tips, just so they can saute a little bit and cook down, soften up just a touch. I'm going to add the bok choy. I've got my chicken broth in there. I'm going to cook this with the bok choy for about a minute or so, because this stuff doesn't take long to get soft. And then I'm going to add my curry powder, and then my roux after that, and finally the asparagus at the end, the tips. And I'm only going to add a little bit of roux at a time. I don't want to add too much and make my stock too thick. I'm going to add my curry powder at the same time. And I'm not going to measure this. I'm just going to put in about 2 tablespoons. I'm cheating on the measuring on the curry powder. So.
It's fun to play with.
This is the asparagus tips. I'm putting this in last, and then I'll finish cooking the dish for about another minute or two. And you can see all these dishes really, aside from I prepped everything up pretty much here from scratch, and it only take about 15-20 minutes really for each dish. These don't take a super long time. And again, because we're not overcooking our food, you want to enjoy as many of the nutrients and the value of this food as we can, as well as the flavors, and don't just taste salt and pepper and butter and everything else that we enjoy as well. So this is looking good and smelling really good too. Now I was going to top this with a few cashews.
Is there a benefit to using, like, you know, the regular table salt as opposed to like the sea salt?
Oh,
I
absolutely,
noticed the sea salt,
absolutely.
you know, I like
Iodized
sea
salt is not good for you at all. I mean, the processing that they use to make, and sugar as well, processed sugar and salt is just very poor for you. So my curry dish is about done here too. That smells good. Oh, that's delicious.